one of the biggest villains in the Flash universe, and his family's legacy went way back to the 21st century. That is, it did, until one man bent on vengeance and destruction swore to swipe them all from existence. And since Eobard is a time traveler, the timeline is going to be a little messed up. However, we will talk about everything that happened to his family from the 21st century onward. So here is The Flash, the full backstory behind the Thawne family. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Where it all began. The legacy of the Thawne family is a great one. You see, they were one of the most prominent family of the 22nd century. But then, Eobard was born, and it all went downhill from there. But more on that in a short while. You see, the history of this great family has been filled with distinguished politicians, scientists, and business magnates. They were respected by everyone in the country, and at one point, they were so powerful they shut down a factory. The oldest known member of the family is Agnes Thawne. She was the mother of Mr. Thawne, a powerful senator in the 21st century, who was so powerful he once closed down an entire factory, which the town relied on for survival. And this is where things get a little tricky. You see, Mr. Thawne had a son. His name was Eddie Thawne, the guy responsible for wiping out his entire bloodline with a single bullet. How? Just keep watching and you'll see. Now, where were we? Yes, the life of Eddie Thawne. Unlike his father, Eddie Thawne was the disgrace of the family. He was the failure of the family. While his father was busy building a name for himself, Eddie only became a police detective and led a miserable life. Everyone scoffed at him for not continuing down his father's footsteps. But he did have a child, and it was this child that continued the legacy of the Thawne family. From Eddie to Eobard, or the Reverse Flash as we know him today, there were numerous members of the Thawne family. All of them became respected leaders in their field. From esteemed politicians to honored scientists and captains of industry, the Thawnes became synonymous with power, wealth, intellect, and smashing that like button if you haven't done so already. But no, they actually were also famous for their success. This greatness continued until Eobard was born.
This Barry, your Barry, he learns it all. There's a hidden letter telling him how it ends, how to beat you.
The 22nd century. Based on what he said in one episode of The Flash, we know that Eobard was born at the beginning of the second half of the 22nd century. The year was 2151. Another boy was born into the Thawne family, and his parents named him Eobard. And judging from all of his ancestors, everyone knew that Eobard would be destined for greatness. They didn't just know whether they would remember him for good or evil. When Eobard was 20, which was in the year 2171, Eobard was already enamored with his superhero from the past everyone knew as Flash. He read everything he could get his hands on about the Flash and how he became one of the fastest men alive. One story talked about the explosion of the particle accelerator that created the Flash and gifted him with the Speed Force. This story struck with him. He spent the last few years of his teenager years looking to create his own particle accelerator and become the Flash of his own time. He succeeded. He became his superhero. He became the Flash. The particle accelerator explosion was replicated, and he was given super speed. Eobard immediately got down to crime fighting, but there wasn't much work. You see, much of the crime has been eradicated at this time, and people are much more civil. No one wanted to steal, rob, or kill, so Eobard made it look like there were crimes in the city. He set people up for things they hadn't done, just so he could swoosh in and save the day. Even though he was the one who actually created the crime in town, he justified his action by saying that the world needed a Flash. But that wasn't actually true. Enter Barry Allen from the year 2021.
If it isn't the future, Mrs. Allen.
Barry told me not to listen to anything you say.
That's just bad advice. Because I'm the answer man.
Barry Allen and Eobard Thawne meet for the first time. Back on Earth, in the year 2021, Barry Allen learned to time travel for the first time in his life, and this is when he traveled to the future, specifically the year 2173. When Thawne finds out that his hero has actually come to his timeline using the Speed Force, he was ecstatic. He immediately rushed to meet Barry. When they met, Thawne told him how he was the biggest hero and how he has tried to do the same things for his time that Barry Allen did in the 21st century. After a few days of bonding with his biggest fans, he found out about all of the atrocities Thawne has committed. To fight the injustice, the Flash, his biggest hero, has turned against him, and to say Thawne was furious and heartbroken would be the understatement of the 22nd century. Get it? It's because the timeline is set in the... Oh, never mind. We'll stop the stupid jokes. Now let's get back to the story of Barry and Thawne. A trial took place and the Flash of the future had to serve some time in jail. After Eobard was imprisoned, the Flash returned to his own timeline. And little did he know, he had made an arch nemesis of himself. Contemplating his vengeance, the first thing that Eobard does when he got out of prison was go to the Flash Museum. There, he saw himself. He saw a picture of the Reverse Flash, the greatest enemy of the Flash. From that day forward, he swore to become the greatest rival of his former hero. In the show, you might remember Eobard saying that he was destined to become the greatest rival of the Flash. This is where he got the idea.
You're not gonna kill her this time. You're not gonna kill her ever again.
Thawne family in the show. Right after he figures out that he is destined to become the Reverse Flash, he travels back in time to the year 2000, but he was followed by the actual Flash, who was just behind him. After he came to the year 2000, he wanted to kill Barry Allen and actually prevent him from ruining his life in the future. But the grown-up Flash saved little Barry's life by taking him far away from Eobard. In that fit of rage, he took the kitchen knife that was closest to him and killed Nora Allen, Barry's mother. He thought this would traumatize him for life and thus prevent him from becoming the Flash. The plan worked. The Flash was no more. He was gone. But with that, so was Eobard's Speed Force. When Eobard messed with the past, he messed with his own life. With his Speed Force drained, he had no way of returning to his own timeline. Thus, he was trapped a century and a half in the past, and no way to get out. But as luck would have it, Eobard learned about Star Labs. He also learns about the mind behind this whole project, Harrison Wells. Now why in the hell would this be significant? Well, it's because Harrison Wells and Star Labs is what created the Flash. Eobard knows this from all of the stuff he's read about Barry, and joins forces with the genius that is Harrison Wells, and they manage to create the particle accelerator. When the project is complete, Eobard gets to thinking, and you know what that means. Thawne figured if he killed Harrison, he could pretend to be the innocent genius and get as close to the Flash as possible. He spent quite some time contemplating the murder, and he finally decided. He killed Harrison Wells and took his identity. He got Barry Allen on his side, and he grew close to him. And you know what happened during the nuclear reaction, right? The Flash was finally born. Eobard was ecstatic. He could finally make Barry travel in time and bring him to the 22nd century. The death that changed everything. Eobard's plan was working perfectly until Barry refused to go through time. Eobard got so angry that he threatened to kill off Team Flash. After some brutal fighting, and not a single person on Team Flash knowing what the hell is going on, Eddie Thawne shot himself in the heart. As everyone rushed over to save him, Vibe was the only one who figured out Eddie Thawne was Eobard's ancestor, and by killing himself, he has just killed off any possibility of any future generations of the Thawne family. That meant no more Eobard. Running to save his life, Eobard traveled through the Speed Force and managed to escape certain death. He used the Speed Force as a shield to protect him against death. But even that didn't last for too long. We'll give him this though. His idea was good for the moment. But after he returned, this brought over a whole slew of problems that Eobard never even saw coming, which ultimately led to his death. But you know all about Hunter Zolomon and Eobard, right? And on that note, we end this video. But hey, What do you think will happen to the Thawne family in the future of Flash? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.